Hello. That's very bright. So labels that we give and labels that we take limit our potential and hold us back. Let me explain. When we use labels like this person is lazy, this person is aggressive, or this person is grumpy, what happens to us is we see them as that label, therefore we behave that way and we keep getting these results. So labels blind us from seeing anything beyond that. The labels that we take on for ourselves, for example, I am not good enough, I am not smart, I'm not tech savvy. As soon as I use words like I am not something, whatever that label is, I actually am creating my own reality. So when we think of an emotion, the first thing that comes to mind is a label that we believe it to be. And labels are given to us. At a very young age, when we experience a certain experience, we didn't know what that experience was, but maybe your mother might have said, you know, Catherine, don't be so sad. And so whatever that experience was, I labelled that as sad. And what happens to us, you see, we are bombarded by 2 million bits of information per second via our 5 senses. And what happens is we acknowledge this information, but at the time, depending on our point of focus, we only capture 126 bits at a time. And this is our point of focus. These are our labels. Our labels give us an idea as to what's going on at the unconscious level. You see, these labels were given to us at a very young age, through our development phase, from the time that we were born right up to the age of 7. This is our imprinting phase. And what happens is everything around us, from what happened at school, from what we read, from what we saw on TV, from what happened in our family and our parents, basically we downloaded all of that information into our unconscious mind. We took that on as our reality, that this is real to us. These were all labels. Then we moved into another phase, our modelling phase. And what happens is from the age of 7 right up to the age of 14, we start looking external and seeing who inspires us. Who do we look up to? Who is our hero? Who inspires us? And this is where we seek our identity. I don't know about you, but back in those days, Duran Duran was my time, and I wore those big funky hairdos with the fluffy shirts, and that was my identity at the time. We move into another phase called the socialization, and this happens from the age of 14 to 21. We call this our rebellious years. So once again, during those years, we're very, very motivated by external social media, and our friends. So as you can see, labels were given to us at a very young age and very deeply imprinted into us. So when you think of an emotion, what's the first emotion that comes to mind when you look at this picture? Is it fear? Is it excitement? Is it anger? Is it rage? What is it for you? I have this experiment that I run during my workshop where I have 60 emotions and 60 labels. And I ask my students to pick one card and one label that represents what they see. And then what I do is I put them in groups and I challenge them to swap their labels. And guess what happens? When they swap the label, they actually see the label in the picture. So the reason it's important to understand our labels is because they influence everything that we do. They influence our behaviours. They influence our emotions. They influence our choices as well. And when we're thinking about how they influence us, what happens is that, for example, I'm going to play this out. It's a nice day. It's a Monday morning. The birds are chirping. It's a crisp day. You're feeling really energized. And you think to yourself, you know what? I'm going to go out for a run today. And as you're running through these familiar streets, you're feeling really good. You're in tune with your iPod. You're feeling the rhythm. And then all of a sudden you slip. And then what happens is you have a look, as you're trying to get your balance, you have a look and you realise you've hurt yourself. You look down, your ankle is swelling up. you can no longer go forward. The only option is to go back home. Now, 3 ways that this can play out for you. The first one is, as you're hobbling back home, you are cursing yourself and saying how hopeless you are that you tripped over and hurt yourself. The second way is you're hobbling home and being grateful and happy that you haven't broken anything and you're still able to walk home. The third option is you can actually look at it and own it. Own what's going on and say, isn't funny, just the other day I was thinking how overwhelmed I was with work and look what happened. This is the universe giving me a sign and owning it. You see, how we label our situations really depends on how we respond and we react to them. So the lens of your projector. What's going on in your external world is a reflection of what's going on in your internal world. And we quite often get this wrong. So many times we're unhappy about what's going on at work, what's going on at home, what's going on in our life, and we try to change these things outside. It's so much more easier than that. It's inside. All you have to change is change your perceptions, because it is your perceptions that you project into your environment and therefore create your reality. You see, it's how we interpret our situations depending on the lens that we have on. When we use labels, there is no way that you could identify that label if you didn't own it. And I'll share a story with you. There was once upon a time where I was actually calling everybody an egotistic. It's everywhere I went, there was an egotistic woman, there was an egotistic man, and I heard myself over and over again that I was creating egotistic people all around me. So the way that I got through that was to actually ask myself, where in my life am I an egotistic? And the moment I was able to connect with that, I was able to work with it. See, it's impossible for us to have a label or to label somebody else if we didn't own it. Labeling things do limit what we desire. So what happens is when we label something, it's what we believe. And consciously, this is what we focus on 5% of the time. The rest of the time, the 95% of the time, the unconscious stuff, it blocks it all out. Now, don't get me wrong, labels have a place. For example, if I was to tell you this lady at a cafe is very friendly, or don't touch this is harmful, or this food is tasty. They do have a place, but we also have to keep in mind they can keep us stuck. So the map is not the territory, is this. We are all here in this beautiful event, Wide for Wonder. And every single one of us today is going to come out with a different mindset, depending on our vantage point, depending on how you process your perceptions, depending on your mindset, and depending on your experiences right now. You see, every single one of us, even though we are sitting in this room, we will all have a different experience. For me, I have different eyes. I will see it, I will hear it, and I will feel it differently to you. Labels also carry energy, and energy is magnetic. So as soon as you label someone or something, it will match the exact frequency back to you. So let me show you how this plays out. So for example, if I label someone as untrustworthy, this is how I see them and this is what I believe them to be. Therefore, I will feel it and project it back out. This is called non-verbal communication, and we do this 55% of our day without even opening up our mouth. You see, the more that we focus on whatever that label is, the more we get of that. Let me ask you, if I was to ask you, what does peace mean to you? A label has so many meanings. If we unpack peace, peace means love, it means calm, it could be a state of stillness for you. So when other people use labels, we have to understand that they have different meanings. Labels shape more than our perception. They're not just empty vessels. They're actually creating our real reality. And this is based on a true story. There was a teacher in the US, she was a relief teacher looking after a class for 3 weeks. The class was labelled the dumb class. And what happened is she looked after this class. 3 weeks later, when the teacher came back, she said, "How did you go?" And she said, "Fantastic, they were awesome." The teacher said, "What do you mean they were awesome?" "Well, have a look. Their names and their numbers. They have high IQs." And the teacher said, "These are not their IQs. These are their locker room number." So the moral of the story, as you can see, the teacher thought they had high IQs, therefore treated them that way, behaved that way, and got those results in return. So think about some of those people that rub you up the wrong way. What labels have you placed on them? And how can you shift that to get the results that you want? Labels keep us stuck. And if we want to shift our mindset, there is one magic question. And that magic question is this. If I think of the label lazy, I could ask, what else could that mean? And what else could that mean is the question. So lazy, what else could that mean? Well, they don't really know what they're doing. They don't understand the job. What else could that mean? They're not using their talent. What else could that mean? They don't feel valued. Change your labels and change your life. Imagine if today, just for today, we cleanse the lens of our own projector and we change our labels. What kind of life will you live today? Thank you.